Chapter 3. The Power of Will Lane Beachley. The Great Southern Shift. The humid, floral air of Hawaii vanished in a heartbeat. Kai felt a sudden, sharp chill that bit into her skin like 1,000 tiny needles. The scent was no longer plumeria and sweet rot. It was the cold, iron-rich smell of the Southern Ocean, bracing, salty, and ancient. She was standing on a wooden staircase carved into a towering limestone cliff. Below her, the ocean was a deep, bruised purple, marching in long, organized lines of power toward a cobblestone point. This was Bells Beach, Australia, 1998. The sky was a vast, sprawling canopy of gray and pale blue, stretching toward Antarctica. The wind didn't just blow, it howled, whipping the spray off the tops of the waves in long, white streamers called flags. In her hands, her board had changed again. It was sleek, narrow, and built for speed, but it felt solid, designed to hold a line in the massive, shifting faces of the Victorian coast. The lioness of the Southern Cross, standing at the railing next to her, was a woman with a gaze so focused it could have pierced the fog. Her hair was pulled back, her jaw set in a line of absolute determination. Lane Beachley. At this moment in history, Lane wasn't just a surfer, she was a force of nature. She was on her way to becoming the greatest female surfer of all time, eventually claiming 7 world titles. But her path hadn't been paved with roses. It had been carved out of rock. "It's cold, isn't it?" Lane said, her voice carrying a sharp, Australian resonance that matched the landscape. She didn't look at Kai. Her eyes were locked on the bowl, the section of the wave where the most power concentrated. "It feels heavy," Kai replied, shivering in the brisk wind. "The Southern Ocean is heavy," Lane agreed. "It doesn't have the warmth of the tropics to hide its teeth. Here, the ocean doesn't welcome you. You have to earn your place. You have to take it." The anatomy of defiance. Lane turned to Kai, and for the first time, Kai saw the fire in her eyes. It was a different kind of light than Duke's warmth or Jerry's peace. This was the fire of will. "They told me I couldn't do it, Kai," Lane said, leaning against the cold railing. "The doctors told me I was too sick when I had chronic fatigue. The sponsors told me there was no money in women's surfing. The men in the lineup told me to go back to the beach. They all had a loop for me, a neat little circle of no and not yet." She gestured toward the thundering waves. "But the ocean doesn't care about their opinions. The wave doesn't know if you're a man or a woman, rich or poor. It only knows if you have the heart to drop in." I decided that my will was stronger than their walls. I decided to be undeniable. The Battle of Bells. They descended the stairs, the sound of the waves growing into a rhythmic boom that shook the very earth beneath their feet. The water was freezing, a sharp, electric shock that made Kai's lungs contract. "Paddle," Lane commanded as they hit the water. "Don't let the current take you. You dictate where you go." The paddle out was a war of attrition. Huge walls of white water tried to push them back toward the rocks. Kai's shoulders screamed, the cold seeped into her joints, and for a moment, the loop of her own doubt whispered, "You aren't strong enough. You don't belong in this power." "Look at me," Lane shouted, her arms cutting through the water like pistons. "When the wave pushes, you push back harder. Your body will tell you to quit long before your spirit is finished. Master your mind, and the body will follow." The ride of the conqueror. A massive set rose from the deep, groomed by the offshore wind into a perfect, terrifying amphitheater of water. "This is the one, Kai," Lane cried out. "This is for every time someone told you no. Take the drop." Kai turned. This wasn't a tube-like pipeline. It was a vast, open face of moving energy, 10 feet high and 100 yards long. She paddled with a ferocity she didn't know she possessed. She felt the power of the Southern Ocean lift her, trying to buck her off like a wild horse. She popped up. The wind tried to push her board back up the face, but she leaned forward, driving her weight into the turn. She carved a massive arc across the face of the wave, the spray flying behind her like the mane of a lion. For a moment, she wasn't a small girl. She was a giant. She was powerful. She was breaking every cycle of hesitation that had ever held her back. Lane was on the wave behind her, throwing a massive turn that sent a fan of water 20 feet into the air. As they kicked out into the channel, Lane paddled over, her face flushed with the thrill of the ride. "That," Lane said, "is how you break the loop. You don't wait for the world to change. You change your will, and the world has no choice but to follow." The lesson of the lioness. As the sun began to sink behind the cliffs of Bell's Beach, casting long, golden shadows over the cold Victorian water, Kai felt a new kind of strength. It wasn't the calm of the Zen master. It was the grit of the warrior. "You have the heart, Kai," Lane said, her voice softening as the adrenaline faded. "But strength alone can become brittle. To be truly great, you must learn to evolve. You must learn to see the patterns before they happen." Lane looked toward the north, toward a future that was already arriving. "Go to the island of fire. Look for the man who sees the ocean as a mathematical equation and a playground of the gods. Look for the king." The cliffs of Australia began to shimmer and dissolve, replaced by the scent of volcanic rock and the hum of high-performance technology.